All right, everyone, we are going to break down the sacred strength of communication today. This is a fascinating strength. Communication strength is part of the influencing domain. And remember, influencers are all about moving others forward. That's where they get their joy. That's where they get their energy. They feel great about things when they're moving others forward. So, how do communication people do that? Well, they do it by telling stories. They do it by taking very basic, dry information, the dry facts about whatever's going on, and they tell it in a way that makes it interesting and in a way that the audience or whoever they're talking to can engage with it to where they can wrap that, they can react to it, and they can put that to use. Doesn't that make sense? How does a high communications person move others forward? By communicating, by making it interesting to them. They're going to use their words and they're going to talk with their hands and they're going to express themselves in a way to make the topic interesting. They are the storytellers. And what a wonderful gift they are. So I myself, where's communication for me? It's actually number 24. So this is not an area that I would, I guess, test high in specifically. It's not in my top 10 by any means, but it's also not in my bottom. It's not down in my shadow strengths either. Interestingly enough, for Kim, communication does happen to be in her top 10. In fact, it is her number 10 strength. So, but it's funny because I actually coach quite a few people with the strength. In fact, about 40%, I looked this up, about 40% of our customer base, our clients that we work with, do have communication in their top 10, which is really interesting because in all reality, the influencers, we don't have a lot of dominant influencers. We have a couple here and there, but the communication strength seems to be running high in our particular group. Don't know why that is. I'm just letting you know that. So I do coach this strength quite often. So again, we talked about these are the storytellers. These are the people that like to take kind of dry facts and make them really interesting, make them fun, make them engaging so that they can get the reaction they're looking for from their audience. They want to make sure that reaction, they see that person is taking the information, accepting the information, and putting the information to use. That is the end goal for the influencer with high communication. As such, again, communicators are high communication people are very dramatic people. And sometimes that gets a bad rap. Sometimes, the drama. We don't want to deal with drama here. But I would challenge you on that a little bit. I love drama. I was an actor for years. I know drama, and I think it's a wonderful thing because it does, in fact, make life interesting. You can bring people up. You can energize people just by your words. And you can also create moments of somberness or silent reflection, and these kinds of you can make people think just by the words you use and how you say them. So these are some wonderful gifts and incredibly powerful gifts that high communication people have. So, sorry, my screen seems to be shifting a little bit. Excuse me while I stable that because it seems to be bouncing around. I think I'm using my hands and things too much, trying to be a higher communicator. So let's. I think we've covered a lot of the sacred side of this. Just how wonderful this is. How much we need this from people. And we can talk. We can start to shift now as we look at the sinister side of this. And I want to give you a heads up here that as we're talking about the influencing strength, all the influencing strengths, you're going to hear a similar theme here. So as influencers, one of the things that when things don't go the way they want them to, when their strengths tend to go sinister, you're going to see the same basic characteristics happening through all of the strengths within the influencing domain. So, for example, with the communications in particular, if they are trying to tell their story, they're trying to energize people, and the people are not interested. Their audience, they're losing their audience. The audience is not paying attention. They're not engaging. And believe me, the high communications people, you can't fake this. As an audience member, you can't fake this. They're going to know if you're engaged or if you're not. If the audience is not engaged to the person with high communication, here's what's going to start to happen. First thing is, they're going to get louder. The high communications person is going to say, well, obviously I need to get bigger with this. I need to use bigger gestures, and I need to use more vocal inflections, and I need to ramp it up, and I need to speed up or put more dramatic pauses into what I'm talking about. These are all things that are going to happen. It's going to get bigger. The production of what they're doing to try and get the other person or people to move forward is going to get bigger. Now, the bad thing is if it gets too big at one point, then the audience goes, nope, back off. Then they completely disconnect from it. And then they've totally lost their audience. That can be very disheartening, to say the least, to the person with high communication. At that point, it can still go one of two ways. At that point, the high communication person can actually start lecturing. Okay, and you don't want that. Nobody wants to be lectured to. So then it turns into something to where they're kind of almost kind of preaching, or they're being critical of their audience in some way, and telling the audience that somehow the audience is falling short here, and they blame the audience for the fact that there's not a good communication going. That's when things get really bad. It can even get worse from there. And when it gets worse from there, that's when the communicator stops all of that and just shuts down, when they stop communicating. And then all that energy, this is very high energy. Communication is an extremely high energy strength. And if they shut down, where's that energy going? It's not going out anymore. Now it's going inside. Now it's going deep inside, and they're giving themselves messages like, I'm too much. Maybe I'm not enough. Maybe, they start being super critical of themselves and shutting themselves down, and they will make themselves sick, physically ill. They will have a stomach problem. They will throw up. They will have an anxiety attack. There is all kinds of things that can go wrong at that point when that high energy of a communication person stops coming out and goes inward and starts working against themselves. They will get sick. Okay, so we don't want that to happen. So how do we prevent all that? If you have high communication, I hope all of this sounds familiar to you, but the last part of it there, I hope you haven't experienced that too much. I want you to be your communicator self. I want you to be out there, and I want you to tell your stories. I want you to be dramatic. I want you to make that contact with your audience and inspire them and get your point across so that they can use your information, because I know it's valuable. Helpful hint in helping you to do this: remember not to lecture. Okay, communication people, while they love to talk, they love to make this interesting, we always have to remember that we have to ask questions. Okay, you have to ask your audience questions. If you're doing all the talking, that's probably not going to work out real well. Odds are that's where trouble's going to brew. So make sure you're stopping, ask questions. Hey, out of the 5 things that I just said, which one resonates with you? You know, these are, can you give me some feedback on what I just said? What do you think about what I just said? Do you have a difference of opinion? What are your thoughts on this? I used to have another business where I had salespeople, and I had a very dynamic salesperson, but he would never stop talking. I didn't know about Clifton Strengths back then. So I don't know. I never had him tested, but I would suspect he had high communication very high. But one of the things that I had him do, because he kept losing sales, and I kept saying, what's going on, buddy? What's happening? And then I would see what he was doing. I would go on a sales call with him, and I would watch him, and he never listened. He knew the material. He knew everything he was supposed to do. He told the story, and he was dramatic, and he was engaging, but he never stopped to ask questions. So what I finally did is I said, here's the deal. For every 3 sentences you say, you have to ask a question from now on. Whoever you're talking to, when you're in a sales meeting, when you're presenting to a prospect or a customer and trying to upsell, after 3 sentences, you have to ask them a question. And he was up for it. He was up for that challenge. And you know what? He became much more effective by doing that. We have to make sure we are asking questions. And this goes not just for communication. Again, I want you to understand with all the influencing strengths, the same principle applies. It goes dark when we start putting out there what we want more than asking them what they want. When we're trying to move others forward, it's important that we ask them, where is it they want to move forward to? If we don't know where they want to move forward to, and we're trying to get them to move forward, how's that going to work? Where are we moving them to? Can you see where the resistance is going to come in? How there's going to be a conflict there, because we're making an assumption that they want to move in the area that we want them to move into. And that's not going to work. That's where these conflicts come. It happens with communication, happens with command, it happens with all of the influencing strengths. So you need to keep that in mind. Always ask questions. That is important to your success as an influencer. And if you have high communication, it's going to be very helpful for you as a high communicator. Thank you so much for watching. I've really enjoyed sharing this video here with you, all this information about the communication sacred strength. Look forward to seeing you again very soon. Until then, as always, remember, inspiration starts here.